Football is officially back. All 32 NFL football teams will be reporting to training camp by Wednesday. That includes all the veterans. But yesterday, the Minnesota Vikings kicked off their 2024 training camp, where the rookies and I believe some of the injured players from last season, so the injured veterans and stuff, reported to camp because it's the early, training process. Got to get these young bucks in there. Got to get these guys who maybe have lost a little bit of a step, or not really lost a step, but are behind the eight ball, if you will, just a little bit. But they all reported yesterday. I'm not 100% sure if yesterday was considered the first day or if today was actually the first practice that they had, just because everyone reported yesterday. Make sure everyone's in the building, get their playbooks ready to rock and roll, make sure they know their schedule and stuff like that. But today was actually basically the kickoff of training camp for Minnesota, where Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell sat down in front of a bunch of media members and basically gave their expectations of the team going forward for this season, and hit on a couple of points. The the JJ McCarthy situation, the quarterback battle that we have going on with him and Sam Darnold, who is going to be on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list. If for those of you that don't know what PUP stands for, that is what it means. And some other cool things that the Vikings are doing, and for a certain family in which, well, we tragically lost not too long ago, just a couple weeks ago. And I actually didn't talk about this situation, the passing of cornerback, fourth-round draft pick Kyrie Jackson out of the University of Oregon. We lost him not too long ago to a very unfortunate situation, a terrible situation, something that, it makes you it basically puts life into perspective, right? You never know when your last day is going to be. Just reach out to your loved ones, your family, your friends, whenever you guys get the chance, just to see how they're doing. Tell them you love them and stuff like that. If you see them on a day-to-day basis, give them a hug, and just do the little things, right? Because in the end, it means more to them than it will. I guess you understand what I'm trying to say, right? Just tell them something meaningful, okay? But Kyrie Jackson passed away, and the Minnesota Vikings organization only felt the need to help out in a massive way. This is a cool thing that we're doing. I'm glad that the Minnesota Vikings decided to handle this situation in the way that they are. But Ben Gosling, where I got all these tweets from, because he's the one that he's a Viking insider. He knows a lot about the Minnesota Vikings. He's at training camp and stuff like that. He was part of the media, how do you want to say it, questionnaire, the media thing or interview with the owner, or not owner, GM and head coach. But he basically was writing all these tweets, and he gave us this little piece or a couple things on the Kyrie Jackson situation and what the Minnesota Vikings are going to do. So he said that the Minnesota Vikings are going to cover a significant portion of the funeral expenses for Kyrie Jackson's funeral, which is scheduled for this Friday. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, and Matt Daniels, and Durante Jones will be among those in attendance. I believe, these guys saw a lot in Kyrie, thought he was going to be the next one, the next guy. We even seen Jordan Addison was asked a question. He basically was asked, like, who's the one guy people need to watch out for, who's an underdog and stuff like that, that's going to have a fantastic year. And he said, Kyrie Jackson, watch out for this man. He is an absolute dog on the football field. People, aren't talking about him, but they definitely should talk about him. And unfortunately, right now, we're not talking about him we're talking about him in a positive way, but not a way we would have hoped to have talked about him. But it's just a sad situation. But the Minnesota Vikings are helping out that family in a massive way, paying for a significant portion of the funeral expenses, which is a great thing for us to do. And to add some details here, Ben Gosling said that the team will cover more than $20,000 of the expenses for Jackson's funeral, which is basically, if I had to assume, almost all of it, like literally almost all of it. But they also this funeral is a joint service with Isaiah Hazel, one of Jackson's high school teammates, who was also killed in the July 6th crash. Just a very heartbreaking situation. It's terrible. I really don't know what else to say other than, my thoughts and prayers are with the family and his friends and his loved ones and stuff like that, because We can't be losing people at at such a young age in that situation. Like that's just nothing we want to go through. But I'm glad the Minnesota Vikings are doing this for the family. And on top of that, instead of just paying for basically all of the funeral, the Vikings also plan to pay out the remainder of Kyrie Jackson's signing bonus to his estate, which is top notch. That's just you can't make that stuff up. That is heartwarming. That's great. That means his family is going to see a chunk of the money that he well deserved to make in the NFL. I'd have to go look at the top, or I'd have to go look on the internet to see how much his signing bonus was. But at this point, I really don't care how much it was. All I care about is that his family's getting help and that the Vikings are actually willing to still pay out this signing bonus to his estate and basically just kind of set up the next generation for his family, and maybe even cover the rest of his expenses for the funeral and all that all that unfortunate stuff that they have to have going on. But also another cool thing the Vikings are doing: the players will wear helmet decals, and coaches will wear pins with the initials KJ throughout the entire season. Jackson's number 31 will also go unused this season, which is awesome. I believe Cam Akers wore it last year. Nobody will wear the number 31 for the Minnesota Vikings for this season, which is awesome. I'm sure they're going to have a nice little vigil for him at the first home game, the season opener at home. Just because it sucks, man. It's nothing you want to see happen for somebody so young, just like Kyrie Jackson is. But on another light, let's get to a little bit more uplifting topics, if you will. The quarterback battle. Who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings? A lot of speculation out there. JJ McCarthy's going to get the start. No. It's going to be Sam Darnold. I don't know. Could it be? We'll see what happens in training camp, because this is where it all boils down. This is where you really see these players set themselves apart and make the starting roster. Well, Kevin O'Connell said, per Ben Gosling, that Sam Darnold will take the majority of the first team quarterback snaps in training camp. This is exactly what I was saying. Sam Darnold is going to be the starter heading into the 2024 NFL season. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about him. There's a reason we signed him on a one-year deal. He's a bridge quarterback. We draft a guy who's young, who needs to learn the system. We set a plan in place for JJ McCarthy to slowly work his way up to that starting roster spot and also to be the future of this franchise. However, even though Sam Darnold's taken the majority of the first team snaps, JJ McCarthy will get some first team work as well. That is big news. That means JJ McCarthy, through this entire process of rookie minicamp, mandatory minicamp, and all those other fun stuff, the OTAs, JJ McCarthy's been taking it serious. Okay, he's been balling. He's been turning heads, if you will. He's been making massive moves, massive strides forward, and really proven that he can be a starter in this league. And this is something I really like to see. I'm sure this was part of the plan altogether of, hey, let's get him used to the offense a little bit during rookie minicamp and mandatory minicamp and OTAs, and see if he's ready to take some first team reps. And I think the team says, hey, he's more than ready. We need to see what he's like with this first team, with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, just kind of seeing how he is maneuvering with the first team. So Sam Darnold, majority of the first team snaps, but JJ McCarthy will also get some first team snaps, which is something we really, really like to see. Maybe, just maybe, during the preseason, we'll see JJ McCarthy get a start with the first team. You never know. Okay, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but JJ McCarthy is going to take some first team snaps. Now on to the injury portion of the training camp, or the start of training camp. TJ Hawkinson will begin training camp on the PUP list, which is the physically unable to perform list. That's because he tore his ACL at the end of the season. I believe it was like week 16, I want to say off the top of my head. Kevin O'Connell did say that. No big surprise there. We already knew this. It's Kevin O'Connell said that Hawkinson is well ahead of schedule with his rehab from ACL surgery. It's a long process to get back on the football field after such a terrible one, but Hawkinson will start the season, or at least start training camp, on the PUP list, We'll see when he will see action or when his projected start of the season will be, whether that's week 1 or a little bit later in the season. Also, on top of that, some moves other than TJ Hawkinson being added to the PUP list. Najee Thompson is also added to the PUP list as well. I believe he was hurt in the same game, or at least towards the end of the season as well. So both those players are on the physically unable to perform list to start training camp. And also, Dwayne McBride, running back, draft pick, the Viking or undrafted free agent a couple of years ago, I do believe potentially maybe a 7th rounder. He has been added to the non-football injury list. Not really sure what happened with that situation. All I know is he's probably injured, and he will not be starting training camp, at least practicing with the team at this point. I'm sure we'll see him in the coming weeks, if not next week. So that's what we have from training camp, or the start of training camp days 1. And I believe technically today is day 2 of training camp. Lots to come this week. I'm pumped up. Football is officially back. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about Vikings football going forward? What is your expectation for the Minnesota Vikings this season? Let me know down in the comment section down below. Also, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much, much appreciated. Have a great rest of your night, folks, and Skol Vikes.